Karakuri is one of those decks that randomly and inexplicably finds itself on the tier list, usually for just a few days at a time before falling off again, and I'd be a liar if I said I wasn't curious. So in one of our Discord voice rooms, about 5 or 6 members of the Discord, myself included, randomly just decided to pick this deck up. We made a couple of alterations and things, and we had a blast with it. I think this deck is actually really good. I totally get why it can find its way onto the tier list. Now, we did make some slight alterations to the version of the deck that many other people are playing online. I feel like this version helps compensate for some of its weaknesses with some additional sort of battle protection, as well as the ability to extend into a Colossus and Borreload. But overall, the deck is really good. So we've got a few replays lined up here. We're going to do a card for card profile at the end. Again, I'm not going to say that this card was anything more than the result of morbid fascination during a voice room, so chances are we may revisit this deck in the future once we've had more time to refine the strategy. But for now, it's really good, and I loved playing it. So here's the replays. Deck profile at the end, so stick around, but do watch the replays because you are going to want to know how the deck works, which you're only going to pick up from watching it. But yeah, subscribe if you're new around here, if you haven't seen anything like this and you want to see more videos like this or anything else that we do, be it stream, be it tournament covers, be it whatever. Subscribe to see more. Like the video if you enjoy, or even just like Machina Karakuri Pile decks, anything like that. Do like the video, it does help me out an awful lot. Let's get into it. Alrighty, getting into round 1 here. I'm gonna quickly... yeah. So we're gonna start off with Gear Frame here. Now, Karakuri Nanishi is not really a card you want to see in your hand. So this is a really lackluster hand. This is a pretty bad hand. And on the summon of our Gear Frame, they're gonna go for Max C. Now that, luckily we have the double Ash Blossom, so we're gonna use one of them now. We might as well. And we're going to try and do some combos here. Now, Gear Frame is going to search our deck for any Machina card. We're going to grab Fortress here. Fortress dropping itself and the Mecha Phantom Beast to summon itself, as well as a Mecha Phantom Beast token. Going to link 2 off into Ancient Gear Ballista. Ballista then searching for the Ancient Gear box on summon. Box then searching for another machine with 500 attack or defense. We're going to go for Tunneler here, bringing out Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. Auroradon playing 3 tokens into the monster zones. We're going to activate its effect, tributing itself and a token to bring out a Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion, tributing both off for Axel Synchron. Axel Synchron then pitching Jet Synchron to the grave to reduce its level, allowing us to go into Bury. Bury, when summoned, will special summon a Karakuri from the deck. We're going to discard our Tunneler to go into our Fortress before linking these 2 off to go into the Burrito. Burrito, when summoned, will special summon another Karakuri from the deck. So we're going to summon out the Strategist. Strategist changing Bury's position so we can use Burrito to draw into redeployment. Hell of a draw there. We're going to go Baron de Fleur. Now we're going to activate Tunneler in the graveyard, banish itself to a Pot of Avarice, shuffle back 5 Earth Machines, draw 2. Pretty awesome. We draw into your Regulus here, dropping the Nishi for our Jet Synchron, using these 2 to go into the Super Shogun. This card is absolutely amazing. Look at the art on this. Beautiful card. We're going to use his effect here. We're going to summon out another tuner from the deck. There's a Gamma. We're going to drop Regulus to search our deck for Ruin Force, as well as Citadel, giving us a lot more follow-up. Dropping Citadel, summoning the Fortress, going into a level 8 Synchro, the Borreload Savage Dragon. We're going to use the Savage Dragon, grab back Auroradon, and that is going to end our turn. So from that super lackluster hand, literally just Gear Frame plus a bunch of random machines, we were able to go into Baron de Fleur, which is an Omni Negate, Borreload Savage Dragon, which is an Omni Negate. We have the Super Shogun, which is essentially a banish. So the way his effect works is if a Karakuri monster's position changes, you get to banish a card your opponent controls. And the Gamma in the graveyard can quick play banish itself to change the battle position of a Karakuri monster. So at any point during their turn, we can shift this guy to defense to banish one of their cards. We also, of course, have Ash Blossom and Call by the Grave as additional interruptions. And lastly, if they do manage to deal with our Karakuri Super Shogun, our Citadel is going to come back from the graveyard and blow up their whole field. So this is a pretty impressive board here, especially considering we were just testing it out. And they're going to go for Tearlament Scream. We're going to go and quickly banish that. We're going to change the battle position of our Super Shogun here. Again, we're just hitting this preemptively because we can stop a lot of the value it would generate. Banishing that, going for Rhino Heart, we're going to activate the Ash Blossom. He's got 3 cards left, and we have 3 more interruptions. So, I don't know, Chief. You tell me. You do the maths on that one and let me know what's going to happen. Yeah, I didn't think so. God damn, boy. Easy dubs in the game too. Already getting into game 2 here. Again, not every hand looks as good as it actually is. As soon as you see redeployment though, you're in business. Redeployment grabbing Gear Frame and Fortress. Gear Frame then grabbing the Citadel from the deck so we can drop Citadel to summon the Fortress. That's what he's going to go for Max C here. We decide to use Ash Blossom. We really don't need to be putting up with that. Now 1-for-1 looks like an odd pick for this particular deck, but it actually has quite a number of decent targets, which we'll talk about towards the end of the video. Ballista here on summon, grabbing a gearbox. Basically, if you can put 2 Earth Machines on board for your Ballista, you are loving it. We do grab Death Squad 001 off of our gearbox. We're going to drop it to grave to summon out a Gamma from the deck so we can go into our Aurora Dawn. That's why we're playing the 1-for-1. We're going to summon out the 3 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens, and we're going to use the Despot 001 coming back from the graveyard, except it isn't because he's going to hit it with Ghost Bell. I'm a-okay with that. You wanna negate my Despot? That is totally fine. That's only an extra little interruption for us. We're going to go off into the Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line for our Axel Synchron, grabbing another token here. Axel Synchron pitching the Jet, reducing its level. Synchro summoning off into Beret. Beret on summon, targeting another Karakuri from the deck. We're going to go Jet Synchron, dropping the box to summon the Jet Synchron. Bringing out Cupid Pitch. Cupid Pitch then, of course, increasing its level. Now we're going to, or decreasing its level so we can go into Baron de Fleur. That's going to trigger our Cupid Pitch and search our deck for Nemesis Corridor. And luckily we can use the Corridor to shuffle back the Jet Synchron that is banished, triggering off to go into Colossus. So playing through 2 interruptions there, we're still able to set up the Colossus lock, a Baron de Fleur, as well as having a Call by the Grave to fall back on. Very difficult board to out. Yet another Tearlaments player. Like, I don't know what they think they're doing. We're going to go Call by the Grave, banishing and negating the Havness. Best deck in the game, my ass. Get that shit out of here. Banishing and negating the Havness. And does our opponent have any more plays at this stage? They do not. It is Scoop City over here in Kurakariville. They just cannot keep up. We're just that good at the game. In the game 3. Already getting into game 3 here, and you can tell from this opening hand, as well as the fact that we're going second, that this is not going to be the greatest situation in the world. We don't really have access to any of our starters just yet. They are going to go kick Kalos. We're going to go Imperm on that kick Kalos. We're going to shut down most of the value that he could hope to accomplish from summoning it, which is perfectly fine by us. Sometimes an Imperm instantly kills Tearlament turns, and this is no exception. Instantly shutting down the Tearlaments. This is absolutely tier fest. They're going to go for Max C here. We do activate the Ash Blossom because we just top decked in the Machina Redeployment, which is basically full combo in 1 card. Literally, Redeployment is a 1-card combo. It is pretty insane. We're going to go Redeployment, dropping the Despot 001, grabbing Gear Frame and Fortress here. And then you normal summon the Fortress, or your Gear Frame, sorry, Gear Frame searches. Not on this occasion, though. This really does hurt us here because now he's able to use the Suliek. We're going to send Kit. They're going to negate my Gear Frame. Luckily for us, though, we do have another machine in hand, which means we're not totally out of the game just yet. They are, however, going to mill a bunch of useful cards here. They're going to go Scream to grab themselves another Suliek. This is pre-ban list, by the way, so now this play is illegal. This man is cheating. They're going to go Rilkalos, which will give them a summon negate. We are, however, able to go into the Fortress, linking off in the Ballista, grabbing the Ancient Gear box. Ancient Gear box searching the deck for the Infinitrack Tunneler. Now we're going to drop both to the grave to summon out the Fortress. So we're going to go into the battle phase, swinging in the Rilkalos. Again, our plays here are ridiculously limited. We're able to take out the Rilkalos, but it just comes back. There was nothing we could have done about that. We're going to go Tunneler here, banishing itself, shuffling back 5. We're going to see that against all the odds, can we draw the out? We draw Max C, which isn't terrible. We do also draw Despot 001, which is virtually worthless. We activate the Max C here at the beginning of their turn. They're just going to go straight to battle, taking out our Ballista. And again, we are once again asking for a miracle. Can we top deck the out? We draw in the Nemesis Corridor. We can activate Corridor's effect, but of course it's not going to resolve thanks to Rilkalos. And really, what could we expect to have happened there? He even pitches a Sulliek the Grave for its effect, meaning he still has his Rolkalos and he's able to search his deck for a Halfness, which will respond to any of our monster activations. I'll take 2-1 to Tearlaments, right? Unfortunately, they simply had the out. They drew everything they needed. They went first. Sometimes it just be like that. They're the best deck in the game for a reason. But I think giving them an utter thrashing in those first 2 duels was a decent demonstration of this deck's ability to keep up with the best. Let's get into the deck profile. Now, this deck was surprisingly really good. There was one small change we made, which I'm going to revert temporarily just for this profile. We were playing 2 O-Lion just because we didn't want to not have one in deck. And that little barrel dude didn't really come up upon more recent testing, so yeah, this is fine. This is the list we were playing with. It is a lot of fun. It was really good. I mean, you saw the replay as we were able to put up crazy boards and play through interruptions like it's nobody's business. We have a whole bunch of 1-card starters in this deck. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. We're just going to go through from top to bottom here because it's not really a deck built of engines. It's just a deck built of machines. So we're just going to go for it. Deskbot 001, a level 1 tuner with 500 attack and defense, can resummon itself from the graveyard if at any stage you summon 2 or more machine monsters simultaneously. Now, this card can resummon itself from the graveyard specifically when Aurora Dawn activates its effect to summon out a bunch of tokens. Gives you an extra level 1 tuner. Love it. Especially considering all of the Karakuri Synchro monsters are just 1-up on each other and they all special summon more monsters, which means that Deskbot 001 can generate a lot of value and help you play through certain interruptions as well. Its attack and defense is also significant. I mentioned its attack and defense and its level for a reason. Not only as a level 1 is it a target for 1, by having 500 attack and or defense, it means it's also a valid target to be searched from Ancient Gear box. So, searchable off a box, summonable off of 1, spammable off of Aurora Dawn, perfect for the Karakuri Synchro rank up, and there's no reason not to run this card. Jet Synchron similarly, 500 attack, level 1 tuner, very similar sort of set of pros and cons there. The difference with this card is he can manually special summon himself from the graveyard just by discarding a card, however the card is banished after it goes to the grave again. Now that is actually a good thing because you want to have a banished monster for your Nemesis Corridor. I don't think you have to play both Deskbot 001 and Jet Synchron. You can probably cut one of these 2 cards. I would be more inclined to cut the Deskbot 001. This deck doesn't have a lot of inherent ways to banish cards other than Tunneler, Ruin Force, and Gamma. Most of which you don't really want to be using unless you can... Well, Infinitrack you would love to use, right? But you don't really want to be relying upon just one of those in order to banish cards. So Jet Synchron being able to banish itself for being a corridor target makes it more useful than Deskbot 001 in my opinion. But it's up to you, right? You can play both, you can play one, you can cut both if you want for all I care. I don't care. It's your deck, do whatever you want. But yeah, I don't think you need both. 3 copies of Gamma. And the Gamma's pretty... I mean, its effect is okay, right? So... if it's targeted for an attack, changes battle position, blah blah blah. This thing's main effect is that while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to target a Karakuri monster and change its battle position. Now that serves a plethora of purposes, but more specifically, like I talked about in the gameplay, it's meant to trigger off the Baribu's effect to quick play banish a card your opponent controls. It can also be used in a pinch to trigger off the effect of Shogun to draw an extra card. A little +1 doesn't do any harm. So yeah, this guy's at 3 because it is a level 1 monster, of course, which means it's summonable off of 1. All of the Karakuri monsters on summon will summon another Karakuri monster, and considering they're all 1-up from one another, you can chain summon your way up to the Baribu using your Gamma, so long as you're able to summon any one of the other 2. So I think running this guy at 3 is fine. You can cut it to 2, but I would definitely be running more than 1. I think 3 is fine. I seldom have issues with this card. Triple Max E because it's broken. Double Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion to be summoned from your deck off of the Beast Aurora Dawn. It is very important that you resolve Aurora Dawn's effect if you want to go for the full sealing of this deck, which means having a O-Lion in deck is very important. If you only run 1 and you open up with it, you're going to have a bad time. We've got Strategist and Nanishi. So these 2 basically, I know he also has a name, Nispachi. So Nispachi and Nanishi basically are just level 3 tuners that can be special summoned from the deck off of the Shoguns. They don't really do much else other than that. I think this one actually has a decent effect. Yeah. So that's if this card's face up, you can do an extra normal summon of a Karakuri monster, which comes up maybe once a blue moon. It really isn't all that big. This card on summon will change something's battle position, which you saw in the gameplay we used to draw 1 off of the Shogun. But basically they're just here as level 3 tuners. You could probably cut one of them. I would probably cut Nispachi. And just run... Well, then again, I mean, Nanishi doesn't also really do anything. You don't need to run both, I don't think, in my testing. I think you can run one of the two, just to give you the versatility of having a level 3 tuner target. Maybe you replace Nispachi with the barrel monster to give you a level 2 target to be summoned. That's not the barrel at all. It's in there somewhere. You know the one I'm talking about. But my point is, the 2 level 3s I don't think are necessary. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Pretty solid card. Again, you don't really want to be playing through Maxi, so we are running the full anti-Maxi hate package. We're running Gear Frame. Gear Frame is almost a 1-card starter. This card and any other machine will grant you pretty much full combo, right? This card and any other machine in your hand will grant you full combo. Because this card on summon searches your deck for another Machina monster. And the way the combo works, right, is you want to go Ballista. Any 2 Earth machines go into Ballista. Ballista grabs Ancient Gear Box. Ancient Gear Box grabs you another card. Basically, you just want to use those to put a 3rd machine onto the board. Once you got 3 machines, you go into your Auroradon, and you just start comboing, right? You just start going crazy. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Ancient Gearbox itself, I keep talking about. Ancient Gearbox, when it's added to your hand, except by drawing it, search your deck for any Earth machine that has 500 attack or defense. So that means Jet Synchron is not a valid search target off of Ancient Gearbox, which is one of the primary reasons as to why you might consider running Death Squad 001 over the Jet Synchron. But I couldn't decide, so I just ran both. Both of them. We got Nemesis Corridor here because you can search for it off of Cupid Pitch to summon out your Colossus. I know a lot of other versions of this deck, they're not running Cupid Pitch and they're not running Corridor. They're instead running Crystron. I can't spell. They're running a Crystron monster that essentially Queriondrax, I think it's named. No, it's not Queriondrax. Whatever. It's a level 4 Crystron monster. I didn't see the value in it, but if someone wants to correct me and let me know why they're running that over Cupid Pitch, I'm all ears, but I thought Cupid Pitch worked a lot better because that helps you put out a Colossus on top of everything else. Why wouldn't you? Infinitrack Tunneler is basically just, it's an extra search target off of Gearbox. It's a higher level, which makes it a more valuable discard fodder for your fortress. And it also has that really neat Pot of Avarice effect where you can banish it from the graveyard to target 5 Earth machines in grave, shuffle them back in the deck and draw 2. It can also special summon itself by triggering an Earth machine, but you really don't want this card on the field. Its searchability, higher level, and its graveyard effect are the real reason you're playing it. Machina Fortress will special summon itself from the hand or graveyard by discarding machine monsters whose total levels equal 8 or more. This card is absolutely amazing. It's not once per turn on its summon, so you can absolutely abuse it depending on your hand. This card's amazing. It also has 2 other effects which are kind of neat. If it's destroyed by battle, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. And if he's targeted by a monster effect, upon resolution, before the resolution of that effect, you get to look at your opponent's hand and discard a card from their hand. So if they target it with a monster effect, it also gets to snipe a card out of their hand. So this card's pretty awesome. Double Regulus, because we're playing a deck full of Earth machines, so why wouldn't you want another Omni Negate that can special summon itself for free? Just targets a machine in the grave, summons itself. It can also send a Furion card, Furion monster, from your deck to the graveyard, or sorry, your hand or field to the graveyard to negate the activation of an effect. So I know I butchered that explanation, but it's basically just a self-summon Omni Negate. Citadel and Reinforce are your 2 Machina boss monsters. Citadel can target a Earth machine on your field and destroy it, and then destroy any monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to the monster destroyed. If any of your Earth machines are destroyed while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this back to the field, which makes it a sort of self-recurring 3k field wiping boss monster, which is absolutely incredible. Reinforce is in a similar boat where it's basically just designed to beat thine ass. 4,600 attack points is absolutely massive, and it special summons itself from the graveyard by banishing monsters whose total levels are 12 or more. By the way, I'm slurring over my words because I have a huge chunk missing out of my tongue. I sliced my tongue. You can pay, during the battle phase, you can pay half your life points to negate the activation of a card effect your opponent activates, and if you do, you have your opponent's life points. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon up to 3 of your banished Machina monsters whose total levels are 12 or less. So this card overall is just designed to special summon itself and beat thine ass, right? That's the whole point of this card. We got a single copy in the Bureau, primarily because it was funny. You don't have to run noob. It's a neat cross-out target, but with cross-out being limited to 1, I don't feel like putting cards in your deck dedicated to being cross-out targets is very smart. So you can cut noob if you want to put in another hand trap. It's absolutely optional. We just put it in because we thought it was funny. 1 for 1, special summon any of your level 1 monsters, your Gamma, Jet, or Despot. 1 for 1 is pretty good in this build, especially considering the number of monsters that really don't mind being in the graveyard. Redeployment. This card is the only card I would say is pretty much a 1-card starter. Basically, you can activate its effect, discard a card, add 2 Machina monsters with different names for your deck to your hand. It will search your deck for Gear Frame and Fortress. Gear Frame then on summon will grab you Citadel. Citadel is more than high enough level to set up your Fortress summon, which means that you can either summon Fortress multiple times if you have another machine, or basically you're setting up Fortress to go into your Ancient Gear Ballista while also having Citadel in the graveyard for that sort of destruction recurring protection almost. So redeployment is absolutely amazing in this deck. Furion the Coliseum will of course search your deck for Regulus on activation, but it also provides you with battle protection. Its secondary effects don't come up very much, but they are absolutely amazing. So you can protect one of your monsters by destruction by sending a Furion card from your deck to the graveyard. And once per turn if a monster is destroyed by battle, you can target a Furion in grave and add it back to your hand. So this card is absolutely amazing. All of its effects are useful in this build. But even just on activation, searching for a Regulus, a self-summon Omni-Negate is pretty dope. So we've got now... Yes, and then the rest is just hand traps, Call by the Grave, Cross the Designator, and Imperm. We had room. You have a room for a lot of hand traps here, and you honestly could play even more if you wanted to. I don't... You really don't want to cut out too many machines. You do want to have a few machines in your deck just to make sure you've got material for your Fortress. I don't know if there's any like good machine hand traps. None spring to mind, that's for damn sure. If you really... you could play Assault Synchron if you really wanted to, I guess. None really spring to mind for being like good hand traps or good protective cards. There's definitely more than a few options though in terms of what you could play. So again, you want to have a look through them and get back to me on what you want to summon. What you would sort of put in those spots, by all means. We did initially look at Unclasper, but the fact that this locks you into machine monsters only is a bit of a pain considering we want to go into Colossus. But yeah, that's pretty much the main deck. You can do whatever you want with it. If you find good sort of auxiliary options for this, let us know. Into the extra deck, we of course have the Colossus to be summoned off of Corridor. We have Cupid Pitch, which will search for Corridor to summon your Colossus. Pretty awesome. We have TG Hyper Librarian, which is a card that kind of makes sense. I'm not the biggest fan of this card in this deck. You do synchro summon a good bit, and you can maybe draw a couple of cards off of this. But going sideways into the Librarian usually feels like it eats up a lot of resources, and I just don't think it's worth it. So the Librarian I would be tempted to take out and replace with something else. I just can't think of anything else off the top of my head I would like to put in that spot. Maybe a Gamma. Omega. We've got Axel Synchron. Axel Synchron is pretty good in this deck. Basically, it can increase or decrease its level by the level of a Synchron monster that you're willing to send from your deck to the graveyard. That was a really weird way of describing that effect, but sue me. So basically, it just sends Jet Synchron from the deck to the graveyard to become either a level 4 or a level 6 while setting up Jet Engrave to resummon itself. Pretty straightforward. And you'll summon this card off of your Auroradon combo, because you'll have a level 2 tuner and a level 3 non-tuner. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. And usually what you'll do is reduce its level by 1 to go into your first Shogun, the Beret. Beret on summon will special summon another Karakuri monster from the deck. There is an argument here, right? Because of how the Shoguns work, there is an argument where you take out Librarian and you instead play Crystal Wing. You can summon Crystal Wing in this deck pretty easily because of how the Shoguns work. So if you wanted an excuse to play Crystal Wing, you absolutely could. Basically, this guy will summon a Karakuri from the deck. Usually your Gamma, unless you have a reason not to. You can summon technically one of these two if there's some sort of value to it, but normally it's just a Gamma. Then you've got your second Shogun, Burrito. On summon, special summon another Karakuri monster from the deck. And this guy has an effect where if a battle position is changed of a Karakuri monster, you get to draw a card. Pretty neat. We've got Crystal Wing, of course, being an awesome card to be summoned off of your Beret's effect if you have the resources for it. If you have like an additional tuner or additional non-tuners on board, you can go nuts and summon out a Crystal Wing. Borreload Savage Dragon is the more commonly summoned level 8 of the deck. Basically, after you resolve Auroradon, you can bring this card out pretty damn easily, and it will... Usually what you'll do is you'll go into Beret, then go into Burrito, this guy will summon another Gamma, and then your Fortress should be able to come back from the graveyard and combine with the Gamma to go into the Borreload Savage Dragon. That's typically how that little line of play works. Borreload Savage Dragon, of course, has Omni Negates. It'll have 3 Omni Negates, which is pretty dope. We've got the Super Shogun Buribu. Buribu on summon, special summoning another Karakuri from the deck. Monsters in defense cannot be destroyed by battle, and that does matter because he will be switching himself to defense more than likely. But he'll protect himself from battle destruction, which is awesome. Once per turn, if a battle position of a Karakuri is changed, you get to banish a card that your opponent controls. Working with Gamma, that's pretty awesome. We've got Shen Shen just as a backup level 9 target. Again, occasionally it comes up. You don't summon this card very often, but it is a decently powerful card in certain matchups, and you can summon it quite easily, so there's no real reason not to be playing it. We have Baron de Fleur and Cheng Ying as generic level 10s. Again, we both know what those cards do. We all know what Psychic Game Punisher does. He's just a fallback option. Typically, you're not aiming to go into level 11, but it is technically possible with certain combinations of cards, so we decided to try and cover all our bases, which is the exact same thing we did with Sigma. We just wanted to cover all our bases. We found ourselves in positions where we wanted a level 12 synchro. So here we are. Lastly, we've got the Ballista and the Auroradon, both of which are vital parts of the primary combo of the deck. You do want to go into Ballista. Ballista on summon searches for your Gearbox to trigger Gearbox's effect to search again. And usually just trying to use this card and anything else as materials to re-summon a Fortress from the grave. So that's typically how it would work. You would go in the deck is very self-sufficient. So let's say you literally just have redeployment. Redeployment searches for Gear Frame and Fortress, right? Normal the Gear Frame, search for Citadel, drop the Citadel for Fortress. Now you've got 2 monsters on board. Right, you get rid of these 2, you go into Ballista. Ballista searches for Gearbox. Gearbox searches for Tunneler. Now you can use Tunneler and Gearbox, discarding both to resummon Fortress again. Then you use Ballista and Fortress to go into your Auroradon, and that's it. Like, one redeployment is equal to an Auroradon because of that line of play, which makes it absolutely incredible. And an Auroradon, of course, just leads you into anything else. It summons this guy out from deck, goes into your Excel Synchron, goes into your Synchros, and starts comboing like crazy. And you always, in the background, have Fortress in the graveyard and Citadel in the graveyard, ready to come back at a moment's notice and give you either more gas or more powerful boss monsters or more whatever you want. It's so flexible. So yeah, that's the deck. Again, I absolutely love this deck. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I do plan on revisiting this in the future and making a few changes, because like I said, we did just throw this together in a duel room, but I thought that those games were too good to pass up. And I don't feel like I see enough awareness about this deck. Like, it does find itself on the tier list. It is more than viable, and nobody is talking about it. So I just wanted to throw that out there, make you aware that yes, there is actually viable good ways of building Karakuri. It's more just like a machine pile deck, but yeah. there you go. That's the deck list. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Like the video if you haven't liked the video. It does help me out an awful lot. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.